Greetings, Jianda, Monique here, and I'm checking back in with you regarding the Artist's Way, week number 7. Week number 7 deals with connection, and I am so grateful to connect with life. So grateful to connect with life and to connect with you. Hoping that this finds you doing as well as you can. I'm grateful I have a little pet sitting opportunity and I took it. And so I'm in a peaceful space. I know in the last time I shared with you, I was talking about creating a peaceful space and home. And you know, that's really an internal thing. Can't make it about others. You can certainly co-create with others as much as they're willing. And I'm cool with that. I will keep reiterating and keep iterating and making new versions and improving and connecting and reconnecting. And that's why I'm here. And I feel that's why we're all here. It's my opinion as an artist and a living, loving being. I thought about last week, and I remember the subject was abundance, and I didn't even talk about abundance. I might have touched upon it very briefly, but that's fine. This process, the Artist's Way process, is something that you do for yourself. So let me, for those of you who are not familiar with the process, let me talk about that. And if you're not familiar with me, I'll reintroduce myself to those who are revisiting, and introduce myself to those who are new. So yes, I'm Jianda Monique. I'm a filmmaker, I'm a writer, I'm a caretaker. I primarily take care of animals and clean. I try to make environments better, bring peace to animals and folks in my community and my world through music and through art, through artist coaching. I sing, I play music. I produced works before. You know, just my main interest is connection and harmony in the ways that I know how. And we're always evolving, so I'm really cool with that. So that's me. If you are new here, welcome. And if you're returning, welcome back. And The Artist's Way. Okay, so The Artist's Way is a book. It's also a lifestyle, it's a program, it's a series of courses, and there are 12 chapters. It's a 12-week process, but you can also do them in modules. And so each module or each week deals with a theme. And there are exercises. Some are consistent through the week, and some have to do with each week's theme. So the main exercises that go through the course are what's called morning pages, which is 3 pages of free-hand writing. Julia Cameron and Mark Bryan, the co-authors, they prefer that you write it by hand, but you don't have to do that. So 3 pages of free writing, and then you do what's called an artist date, which is taking yourself out. You have to be by yourself. That's hard during those times, but we can go ahead and practice safe 6 and stay 6 feet away from folks if you have the time and opportunity. And if you don't, I've been in many groups or worked with many coaching clients who just do something nice for themselves, whether it's self-care or just something that the purpose of the artist date and all these exercises are to fill your well as an artist, to re-inspire you or inspire you. If you think of the analogy, like I believe it was Albert Einstein who said some of his best ideas come in the shower, just when you're doing regular rituals or things that you dip back into, they can help inspire things that aren't even connected to what you're doing. So I love that idea. So those are the 2 main cogs, and then of course reading the each module or each week's chapter and doing the exercises. And the exercises are basically dealing with a theme, and then there's a check-in. You know, did you do your morning pages this week? Why or why not? Did you do your artist date? due to the very exceptional times that we're experiencing. And in general, I'm not really very like religious about the questions. It's just sort of like, do the questions that speak to you. It's very much chunky homework, and some people really get into that and like that. And sometimes it intimidates people. So I just kind of meet people where they are, or meet myself where I am feeling on that particular day or time frame, and just do what's comfortable. And that process is very much like that. It's a very loving process. I met Julia Cameron before, and was at a public speaking event, and I also met Bryan before at a public speaking event, and he signed my book and everything. And people are complicated, right? But their energy to me during that time was just very open and very curious and they're very much advocates for artists in my experience and how I've experienced them in person, and the recorded works, audiobooks, workshops. They have many spin-off books, right? So it's a great process. So now to talk about my process. So yes, I just wanted to sort of, I just kind of wanted to sort of complete the loop in terms of abundance in my experience. And that I was saying, it's not always financial, but it's great when it's financial, right? But I've just seen many demonstrations of abundance that just have to do with great opportunities. Like I love being around animals or in nature or around caring people. And that's relative, right? There are people who care about the world. And there are people who care about you personally, and people have different ways of showing it, and I try and allow some flexibility for that. I'm really at a good place in life where I'm really just accepting changes. I think normalcy for me is normalization, and that's portable and adaptable. Normalization, like a heartbeat has normalization. I can take that anywhere, I can be anywhere. And I find that through meditation and yoga. I have not done that as consistency as I would like during these times. But I always continue to dip back in when I can. And going into a new chapter of my life where I'm studying to teach it, I think will help me to find that normalization in a more personal way, less abstract way. Because it's something I believe, but it still feels intellectual, it still hasn't really manifested in my soul, and I'm really cool with that too. First part is just, you have to kind of be benchmarked and know where you are and go from there. You don't know until you try and strive, and so I'm totally cool with everything in that regard. What else? Ooh, wiggly kitty. Bye. What else was I gonna say? So yeah, that covers just last week. Week 7 is a sense of connection. There's many senses of the word connection too. I feel very connected with my own inner healing and as-isness. That has always been the tough one for me. Yoga and meditation and creativity have definitely helped me be in touch with that. But again, intellectually. And I think around the time that we've had the lockdown around the world, and I've just kept having these moments with people who are really touching down with all kinds of needs, big or small, and myself going through that, and everyone in these various stages of for lack of a better word, pandemic fatigue. We're losing people are passing on, ideas are passing on, people are taking a serious look at systems and how they hurt and how we can help to heal them in some very real ways. People are gathering together and banding together in some very instantaneous and surprising ways. All of this connection is happening, and yet there are elements in our experience that are trying to force disconnection and confusion and division, and that is really our life story since time immemorial. It's never not been the case, meaning it's always been the case. So how do you find your true north? How do you find your normalization through that? The answer for me is just to do the absolute best you can, and that's going to vary from moment to moment, you know. And for me, personally, I like to try to better my best. And it's less about performance, it's more about a feeling space, feeling better. My opinion is that once I feel better and make a habit of that, my performance improves, everything improves. My joy, my connection improves. So that's a goal for me and anyone I work with, like my artist coaching clients, meditation, yoga clients, even though I'm a student teacher. That's always the intentionality there. So, connection, it just feels less abstract for me. I feel very connected to everything in my experience. When something is awry and not working for me in experience with a person, I have a lot less hesitation. I just kind of call it out, speak out. If the reaction is violent or adverse, I shut it down immediately. Sometimes with that type of personality, you have to like repeatedly shut it down, block. You have to find harmony and peace in the best ways that you can. I borrow a lot from Aikido mindset. I've studied briefly and read a lot about it. Haven't found an inexpensive option to do that, and people generally discourage you from studying by yourself. And especially right now, I don't know what folks in the martial arts disciplines are doing. I imagine taking the best precautions they can, maybe Zoom and things like that. But going back to Aikido, so it's a martial art, right? So you are prepared to fight, but Aikido is more about self-defense. Martial arts, it really varies. You know, there's all kinds, right? But generally, martial arts is thought to have to do with self-defense, which means that you are strong enough to battle, but that's never your goal. You are strong enough to face and take care of things, but that's never the goal. What I love about Aikido is you are using the opponent's body weight or energy against them. Like if someone is coming at you, you're learning different poses, roles, mindsets to handle the energy, handle the chi, and not fight it. You're rolling with it literally, and you're using it to also shut down the brute force, you know? I heard a great quotation the other day that said, I was reminded of it, that people who encourage brutal honesty usually prefer the brutality over the honesty. I thought that was interesting. Not something I want to be too interested in, but I keep seeing a lot of insights that just remind me to keep tapping in and being awake. By nature and my generations of family, by their nature, like primarily we're artists, but also hybrid. My strength in life is being, like presencing. People have told me that so many times, like helping folks be calm, restore calm, helping animals be calm and restore calm. Same with art. People have said my songs are calming or my voice is calming. In my better times when I sing, I have all different kinds of singing styles, right? So probably some punk song I've written, some indie rock song I've written is not going to like make you want to meditate. You know, we all contain multitudes, you know. By the way, I'm here by myself with animals. The place has been sanitized, and before I leave, I sanitize it. So apologies for touching my face and things like that. I'm pretty much quarantined until the next rotation of people come in a no contact way. So I did want to say that, just to be mindful of everything that's happening right now. But yeah, I'm kind of ranting or babbling, ranting, whatever. But this is for myself. That's what this process is about. When you're doing the artist way or any creativity, I would hope that you're doing it for yourself first, for your joy first. Yes, there may be commercial benefits for some art that people do, or praise and all that. That's a great part of it. But it seems like with all the artists I've spoken with, generally it feels the best. And that feeling reverberates when you at least remember you're doing it for yourself first. It doesn't always have to be the case. Sometimes a job is just a job. And if you have a natural skill, you use that too. I call it all good. But I'm just sharing my journey. I was just talking about being an artist. And connection, what connection really is. I got some time to reflect on it. That's what's great about this process, is that it helps you kind of deep dive into these themes. And after I finish the 12 modules, I think I'm just going to do it over again, like directly after. It's so helpful to me. And synchronicities do happen during this process. I think the time has been so surreal that I haven't noticed them as much. But like thinking back, they just seem to happen with this process because there's just an energy to it. It's hard to explain, but it's wonderful. So I was saying, I'm a natural artist and I come from a long line of artists, and that's the one thing I do well is self-expression. But self-expression is not connection. It's usually like sort of like one way, not always, you know. Usually I do it in a way where it's received by someone else, but not always. A lot of my art isn't really received, or it's received by someone and I'm not present for it. Like my songs that are distributed on iTunes and things, like I'm not there when you hear it and you have your own interpretation of it, which I'm glad of. They do help me. My songs help me. They come back to help me and remind me of ideas that feel healing and helpful, and very, very grateful for that. What else did I want to say there? Yeah, so I'm working now on more helpful communication. I feel like I'm good at authentic communication, but it's not always received. People don't always want to hear your authentic experience, or don't have time for it, or don't have an interest in it. And when you get used to that not being received, you kind of like stop trying. And I think it just becomes more closed. You become more closed. And a lot of times people that feel that closure see it as a challenge and want to open you up manipulatively, but not like genuinely, like you don't really want to genuinely get to know you. So I've gotten to a series of events where I've met people like that, or like living spaces where it was like that. Your intuition kind of like is there, but like, like, I guess it cedes to the other energy. And it's always a choice. It's always a choice, even if it's not like you're not conscious about it. And I do feel like the things that I have in place, art, meditation, yoga, connection, when I can find it, being with animals and being out in nature, you do remind yourself of who you are. You do tap back in. I just get the memo late sometimes, but I'm grateful to keep trying and being authentic and honest. I'm getting back into the habit of being authentic more quickly. And if my authenticity is not received, or it's violently received, just just stopping the flow as quickly as I can. Nobody wants to fight. I want harmony. I'm not here to fight. I don't have to be heard. And I think as a creative, that's challenging, right? It's like we want to be heard. Every human wants to be heard, received, hear me out kind of a thing. And if for some reason you're not a known artist or a name artist, I'm not a name artist really. Like, I don't have a huge fan base. I have some fans, but it's not like, they're not like a burgeoning fan base or anything. Then why do you do what you do? I do it for self-expression. I do it to learn. I think my next phase is going to be like to communicate with others and have that connection and that echoing and that mirroring back. And I've seen it with my photography. Like, I used to have a lot of photographies on this popular website before they kind of became like a website that charged. And I met a lot of friends through that. And some I visited on, and some I'm, still online friends with. And it was just about talking about each other's photographs or other photographs that we see and like, or graphic art that we see and like. And I did have communication and connectedness this way. And especially during these times, it's really important to keep touching down on this communication and remind yourself of who you are and why you're in this world. As much as you have the opportunity to do, we don't always have that opportunity. Raymond Carver is an artist who comes to mind. He worked as a janitor and he did a lot of sort of like physical labor, and then he worked part-time as a literature teacher, and I believe he also put himself through school to try and like get to that next level. It took him years, and he had like substance abuse problem. It was public, or I wouldn't have known about it because I never met him. And then he sort of had like a recovery stage 2, and just a lot of the interviews I saw with him and a lot of his writing just talked about fitting it in where you can, so you would stay up late and write and practice, and he would read writers that he wanted to be like, and he would literally like sort of trace over their words. Like, he would write the same things they wrote for a few pages, and then his stuff would come out. And there is something to that, just getting in where you fit in, if it's 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there. And I've been doing that so much that the flow is always there for me when I can get a little time and space, and I'm grateful for that. Just finding that time, even if it's only 5 minutes here or there, this week or that week, you do kind of get to pick up where you left off after a while. Being an artist by nature and expressive by nature, I always kind of told myself, or was convinced somewhere along the line, I wasn't good at math. I wasn't good at factuality, specificity, descriptions, things like that. Well, now I'm working in projects that involve coding, that do involve math, that involve code switching, literally and figuratively, different coding languages, transcription in different platforms, using different coding languages, working backwards, so editing things not left to right, but sometimes right to left, up and down, segments at a time, paragraphs at a time, no particular order. Sometimes it involves search, sometimes it involves visual search. My coworkers that's their nature, so they're very speedy. They get frustrated with me sometimes because I have to keep telling me things and repeating things, and I have this sort of forgetfulness, but after repetition, I basically nail it, and that's how it was for them, too. Like, babies aren't born knowing algebra, Some acclimate to it sooner than others to where it becomes seamless, and that's how it was with art for me. I had a friend of mine say that one of my songs anyway, like seemed seamless. I don't think all of my songs come off that way at all, but they mentioned one, and it seemed like it's kind of like breathing for me, but everything's like that. Learning to swim, learning to ride a bike. If you ever have those opportunities, it It can be just grating and difficult for so many people. And then when you get it, there's a joy of getting it. And some just acclimate to it immediately. And so we're all at these different phases of learning in different walks of life. And we do need other people. We need to connect with other people in the ways that they, if they're game, that they'll let us harmoniously. Even if there's acrimony there, you can learn something from that. It's not my preferred learning style, though, so I don't indulge it for too long at all. But some, that's the way they do it. Or that's their lot in life, is to like fight those battles and advocate for people who can't advocate for themselves. And some artists take on that activism too, doing that. And that's what's so beautiful about, Black Lives Matter and Me Too, all of the things that are coming out where people are telling their truth and asking for help and support from other people to make the world a better place. That's why we're all here. So great. Self-expression is wonderful. I'm working on communication, comprehension, connection now in ways that are deeper and more helpful. You can feel like you're helping a person, but that doesn't mean you're helping a person. Because intersectionality exists, I've only seen that in like certain walks of life. Or I've had it happen to me where someone like is forcing their help upon me or being extremely abusive and saying they're helping me. And I'm saying, no, this is not helpful. Please stop. And they're not getting it because they want to be like, think they're like superhero or altruistic or be performatively helpful. And it goes both ways though. Like if someone's from a different walk of life than me and I think I'm going to set something up and make it really easy for them. Did I ask them, did they ask for help? Do they care to be helped? Same with coaching clients I work with, sometimes you'll work with someone who thinks they need help or want coaching or want that, like, I see it more as like an ally or a study buddy. I don't see it as like, I'm going to like fix your life. Because look, like my life is certainly a work in progress, but then we'll start working together and they're very like contrary and adversarial and like bored, or they like stop showing up. It's like, it's clear they're not interested or like they have other things going on. It's certainly not personal, So in terms of help, just as a manifestation of connection, it really is a skill to make sure that you're being truly helpful, and that involves asking clarifying questions and making sure all along the way you're being helpful. And you're gonna fail. You run some code, and a part of seeing if it works or not is it's gonna fail, and then you see where it's broken and you fix it as much as you can, get it running smooth again. That's life, that's connection, that's everything. I'm glad to still be in the mix. My birthday's coming up. It's gonna likely be super quiet and peaceful. I know you trolls, there's a troll or two that might be watching it that might try to make it not peaceful or not cool, but that's an inside job. Home, peace, centeredness, that's an inside job. That can't be taken away from you. A good friend of mine reminded me about Anne Frank. They reminded me about Anne Frank regarding something else. However, this dear creature who is still alive in our consciousness and no longer on this plane, she was living in the worst case scenario on a daily basis, and she always saw the good, and she always looked forward to things and mused and waxed rhapsodically about things with the dearest heart. And the journal was an expression. It is art. Art to me is profoundly about creating new alternatives and solutions, good feelings, good experiences, vicarious experiences, release, catharsis, escape, spectacle, pleasure, soothing. It's really whatever you want it to be. And in my case, connection, I'm adding that. I really have been connection shy of late, just because of meeting so many manipulative people, pugilistic people leveraging vulnerabilities that I was going through. It makes you very connection averse, and I'm very good at, just dealing with tasks and not connecting, or connecting in sort of like a distant way. I don't mind that about myself, actually. You need to take time to get to know people and connect, and there's a gradualism to it that I prefer, so I don't mind that going in like a lot more consciously. And then there are ways to connect like this, where we are authentically sharing moments, and we are connecting at a very deep level that works mutually. Whether or not you like this, whatever your reaction is to it, there's still a transference that happens. I wish I could think of that word. My friend told me about this word that I guess it's a psychological or spiritual or academic concept about what I've been calling transference or okay, I need to cut because I wasn't calling it transfer. Yeah, I couldn't find it. I was looking for it. I wrote it down, but about what I've been calling transformative experience. Basically, whenever two creatures connect, both leave changed, and that's how I feel about everything, and that's what my experience has been about everything. You may not see it, right, in the other person, but it's still going down, vice versa. You can really never know what's in another's heart. I leave you with this example. So if you don't mind, please think of a number from 1 to 100. Okay, if you got that number. I have no idea what that number is. You have to tell me. You have to tell me. We have to talk about it. I'm never going to know what you're thinking until you tell me. And even what you tell me might just be your sense of it that day. It could change. We are walking poems. It's going to change. My number I picked was 99, which is a beautiful song that Toto wrote. I highly recommend it. But, yeah, I feel good. I feel centered. I don't feel exhausted. I feel like my last few vlogs, I've said I feel exhausted. I feel refreshed and restored. I feel very grateful and optimistic. I don't think it's just the birthday vibes, but maybe it is. I'll take it, whatever it's called. I thank you for your time. If you have listened, been with me this far, thanks. I'm sure there are other ways you could be spending your time. So thanks for hanging with me as I reflect on creativity. If you find that you're looking for creative coaching or meditation coaching, I'm not quite offering the yoga courses yet because I want to get my certification first, which is coming. But I'm happy to help you with meditation and creativity coaching. Reach out to me. You can either leave a comment here. You can find me on Instagram at Jianda Monique, on Twitter at Jianda Monique. But more importantly, I hope that you're doing the absolute best that you can, and that your day and life is happening as ideally as it can. And if you wish, I hope that you're keeping it creative, and sending you lots of peace and lots of love and respect. Peace.